my name's Lynn, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about rating books. Now, book rating is something really important on BookTube. Despite how many booktubers don't do reviews, even though reviews are quite an important part of our community, rating books is still important. A lot of people, even if they don't review books, in their wrap-ups they will give a rating for the book they read. And rating books is really important because you need to give an accurate rating, in your opinion, to inform the viewer on your opinions about the book, so they should know if they should buy it for someone or if they should buy it for themselves to read. And recently I've come across this problem where the way people rate books is kind of annoying me, and I know I shouldn't say annoying, but it is kind of annoying because they're not being very specific with the way they're rating the book. And there's a certain way they're rating the books, like a certain system they're using, that I find is really inaccurate. In this video I'll be covering different topics about rating books because I've been really wanting to do this video for a while, but I haven't had the time to do it. So first of all, why is rating books important? As I said before, it's really important because you're telling the person your opinion about the book in a rating. Not just saying, oh, I like this book because of this and this, but you're giving them a rating, which is something most people go by when they buy a book for themselves or for others. Basically, anywhere you go, you will find a rating for a book. Things are extremely important to attract people to buy a book. Not really that much to say about why rating books are important because it's kind of self-explanatory, and it's basically one main reason to tell the people how you feel about this certain book. Now we'll talk about different ways to rate books. Being on BookTube for quite a while now, I've found different ways people rate books, and I found ways I really like that I use myself, and ways that really annoy me and I think are really inaccurate. And now I'm just going to cover all the different types of ratings I've come across. There's the most common, a 5-star rating, which I'm going to say like 85 to 90% of booktubers use. Like, it is the most popular rating I've come across out of the channels I watch. There is the percentage rating, which is basically you're giving a percent, like a 70%, a 40%, a 90%, and you can go like even in between. This is a really specific type of rating, which I personally really like. And the third is a type of rating that I personally don't come across quite often. I haven't seen it a lot on BookTube, and that is the blank out of 10 rating. It's basically just saying like 5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, and that's basically sort of equivalent to the percentage rating, because if you were converted into percents, it would be like an 8 out of 10 would be an 80%, but we're not going to get mathematical here. The main reason why I made this video was to talk about this one type of rating, which is the 5-star rating. Over the past couple months, I've realized that the 5-star rating really bugs me. So many people use it, and I guess I can understand why, because it is the most common used rating. It's so inaccurate, and honestly, the 5-star rating makes no sense whatsoever if you really break it down. 5 stars. First of all, let's say this was out of 5. You're doing a 2 out of 5, a 3 out of 5. It's not a lot of options. Like, it's 5. And 5 is an odd number, and I feel like when you're judging something out of an odd number, it's harder to rate it. Always come across a situation where people say, you know, it's a 2-star. 2-star can mean like 3 different things. A 3-star could mean like 4 different things. And then when people say like, I give this a 4.5 star, a 3.75 star, that is where it just gets really annoying. If you have to go in like a 2.15 star, I think that shows that there's something sort of wrong with that rating system, because you shouldn't have to go like a 1.85 star, because you could just say a 2-star. Like, I think when you add the point ... whatever you're going to put to the star, it just makes matters more confusing. Giving a book a star, like out of these 5, can mean so many different things since you do not have a lot of options. In my opinion, 5-star means that the book was perfect, no flaws, it was the best thing ever, and in my opinion, it means 100%. But if you have a couple issues with it, and you know, you're just like, it's not the best book ever, but you still really love it, and you give it a 5-star, that's not a 5-star, okay? That's like a 4-star, okay? Or maybe you won't go like a 4.95 star. A 3-star could mean that, you know, it was a mediocre book, it was pretty okay, you know, not my favorite book in the world, but it's still a passing. Or it could mean, you know what, I really didn't like this book, but I'm not going to give it a 2-star because it wasn't that bad. 5-star rating system is just really flawed because it's not very detailed. It's very vague. A star could mean many different things. In my opinion, that's why it's misleading, and that's why I do not like using the 5-star system. When I hear a booktuber say this book they give this book 3 stars, I come up with 4 different scenarios in my head. Okay, did they like it, but they didn't really like it, or did they really like it, but it's not a 4-star because they've read other better books, or is it, just a mediocre book? And it's very confusing, and that is why I do not like using the 5-star system. I always wonder why people use the 5-star system. I'm just breaking it down in my head, and I don't think a lot of people think like me in this sense, where they think the 5-star system is flawed because so many people use it. And it's a very common used system, not just in books, like a 5-star movie. We use it in film as well. But I just always wonder why it's the most common used rating system. Honestly, it's so flawed, and I just don't know why it's so popularly used. You're probably wondering, hey, if you don't like the 5-star system, Flynn, what system do you use? If you've watched any of my book talks or any of my wrap-ups, you would know that I use the percentage system. I often get a lot of questions on how you use the percentage system. So I have a book, I rate it at 75%. And they're like, well, how do you determine that's a 75%? Especially when I give something like a 71%, people are like, how do you determine that? And I usually flip the question back around and say, how do you determine if something's a 3.15 star? It's honestly kind of the same thing, except more detailed. My way of rating books, because I basically rate every single book I read for purposes in my wrap-up, but I rate books like I'm reading an essay. I pretend I'm a teacher and I'm reading a big long essay and I am giving it a grade. And I kind of split this into 2 different ways of grading, because as I said before, the out of 10 rating system is sort of the same as the percentage rating system. So what I do is I choose what percent I want it to be. So let's say a book I read I really liked. I really liked it. So I'm going to give it in the 80% range. And the reason I gave it in the 80% range is because I did really like it. But it wasn't something that was extraordinary, or just, it was so good, because the 90 to 100% is like an excellent. If you did amazing on your essay, few errors, minimal errors, that's when I give something a 90%. Now that I've chosen that this book is in the 80% range, people are like, how do you determine if it's an 81% or an 89%? This is where I split it up. Out of the 80%, I choose whether I would rate it a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10, so on and so forth. So put the 80% away for a second, and now I have this book and I pretend I have to rate it out of 10. Let's say I'm like, okay, I'm just going to give it a 7 out of 10. I take my 80% or whatever larger percent I'm using, and I take my out of 10 grade and I add that to the percent. So it would equal up to an 87%. That is personally how I make my percentage rating system. I know there's probably a bunch of different ways to do it, and hopefully the way I'm explaining this doesn't sound too confusing. I also feel like this video sounds really mathematical for some reason, because there's so much adding and percents and numbers, and I've never talked about numbers so long in one video. And when you think about it, it's not really mathematical, but I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, so I'm just gonna get back to the topic. That's how I determine what percent to rate it, and it might sound a bit confusing, so if you guys do have any questions, comment them down below and I'll try to explain it further. I just find this way the most beneficial. Message of how much I like the book gets across easier. That is my discussion on how I rate books and book rating in general. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have not done a bookish discussion video in so long. I think the last one I did was how to read more, and that was in September when school just started for me, and I was making a back to school video where I was like, oh, you're in school now, I'm going to teach you how to read more. But I think that was the last video I did, and a lot of you, actually I got quite a few comments on that video saying they really like my discussion videos. So comment down below if you guys do still want to see a lot more discussion videos, and I'll try to upload more, and I'm going to need suggestions. So you guys can comment down other, bookish discussion topics you want me to discuss with you guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next video. Goodbye!